Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This ummah has produced many great people throughout the ages. They were fuqaha, muhaddithin, mujahideen, mufassirin, linguists, and what all not. But very few are the people that have been all of that at once and excel at it too. One such person who attained perfection in all of these things, who was said to be like the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum if you were to see him, was the person that was known as the Imam of the East and the West, Imam Abdullaah ibn Al-Mubaarak Rahimahullaah. A person can spend all day speaking of Imam Abdullaah ibn Al-Mubaarak Rahimahullah and yet not tire nor run out of things to say about him. Imam Abdullaah ibn Al-Mubaarak is one of those ulama that is unanimously accepted and loved by the entire ummah, and there does not exist a single blemish to his name. And he is one of those ulama that everyone would have liked to claim for themselves as being one of them. But Imam Abdullaah ibn Al-Mubaarak rahimahullah chose the Hanafi madhab and Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah for himself over everyone else. And when you know the rank of Imam Abdullaah ibn Al-Mubaarak rahimahullah and the knowledge he possessed, then you will understand how strong and firmly rooted the Hanafi madhab is in its obedience to the Quran and the Sunnah. Imam Abdullaah ibn Al-Mubaarak rahimahullah was a highly acclaimed muhaddith that is one of the rarest of the rare. It is mentioned regarding him that he had memorized 1 million ahadith, not merely written it down, but actually memorized it. This one fact alone is enough to give a person an idea of just how remarkable Imam Abdullaah ibn Al-Mubaarak rahimahullah was. Once during the time of Imam Abdullaah ibn Al-Mubaarak rahimahullah, some of the ulama sat down and decided to count and list the virtues of Imam ibn Al-Mubaarak rahimahullah. They began by listing the knowledge he had and the understanding he had of the knowledge and the knowledge of fiqh. They listed his memorization of hadith, his knowledge of tafsir, his eloquence in the Arabic language, his excellence in poetry, his knowledge of history, his jihad, and the bravery he showed on the battlefield. They mentioned his worship and how he would spend the nights in salah, not to mention his hajj that he would do every second year, as 1 year you would spend in jihad and the next year would be for hajj. As they began to list all his qualities, even those ulama admitted that there was no one quite like Imam Abdullaah ibn Al-Mubaarak rahimahullah. If a person speaks of generosity, then Imam Abdullaah ibn Al-Mubaarak rahimahullah could be found there too, because he would spend 100,000 dirhams a year in sadaqah to the poor. If you talk of scruples and trustworthiness, then Imam Abdullaah ibn Al-Mubaarak rahimahullah showed his worth in this regard. When on one occasion Imam ibn Al-Mubaarak rahimahullah was in Sham and he borrowed a pen from someone to write something down. When he returned home to Maro, pronounced Merv in English, which is found in Turkmenistan, and he unpacked his goods, he found that the pen was still with him. So there and then, Imam ibn Al-Mubaarak rahimahullah packed up his things and traveled all the way to Sham to return that pen to its owner. The journey between Maro and Sham is over 2,500 kilometers, and he undertook this for something like a pen that people would deem as being minuscule and easily replaceable, but for people of virtue and nobility, nothing is minuscule. If you talk of bravery and strength, then Imam Abdullaah ibn Al-Mubaarak rahimahullah was a sight to behold. On one occasion, the Muslims were engaging in jihad and one of the kuffar called out for a duel. And this was how the battles used to be fought in the old days. Before the actual battle took place, there would first be one-on-one duels where the champion warriors would usually fight, and only thereafter the real battle would commence. So on this occasion, when this kafir called out to the Muslims to duel, a man from the Muslims responded to the challenge and went down to fight him. The battle lasted a while, but ended with the kafir being killed. Immediately another kafir stepped forward to take his place, and this one too was killed. This Muslim, he called out now to the kuffar to send another challenger. When the third kafir stepped up, he too was cut down. Both armies were intent on watching the scene unfold. And with this, the duels now ended, and this man returned to the Muslim army. But the thing was that his face was covered, concealing his identity. But the narrator states that he followed this man and he pulled aside the covering and he found that this mujahid was Imam Abdullaah ibn Al-Mubaarak rahimahullah. Imam Abdullaah ibn Al-Mubaarak rahimahullah didn't fight for name and fame. He didn't fight to be called brave and strong, or to have people sing songs of his bravery. He fought solely and only for the sake of Allah. So Imam Abdullaah ibn Al-Mubaarak Rahimahullah made this man promise to never mention a word about it. So it was only after Imam Ibn Al-Mubaarak Rahimahullah passed away that this man came forward and related the story. When a person looks at the early life of Imam Ibn Al-Mubaarak Rahimahullah, a person can see the love and commitment to the deen that he had from that young age. It's mentioned that his father had given him 50,000 dirhams to trade with. When his father met him again and asked him what he had bought, Imam Ibn al-Mubaarak Rahimahullah brought out his kitabs and said that this is his trade that he had spent the money on. But because the father of Imam Ibn al-Mubaarak Rahimahullah was himself a great and noble person in his own right and a pious person par excellence, he then gave Imam Ibn al-Mubaarak Rahimahullah an additional 30,000 dirhams and told him to use it in his studies of the deen. Therefore, you will find Imam Ibn al-Mubaarak Rahimahullah making the statement saying that he spent 50 years studying the deen and hoping that he would continue doing so until the day that he dies. Today it's a problem for many people to study for 50 minutes, let alone 50 hours or 50 weeks. So what's still about 50 years? The life of Imam Ibn al-Mubaarak Rahimahullah was one that was filled with continuous traveling. If not in search of knowledge, then in jihad or for hajj or for something related to the deen. It was one of the du'as of Imam Ibn al-Mubaarak Rahimahullah that Allah had accepted from him. He had asked that Allah lets him live the life of the rich and die the death of the poor. So he had the money during his life to travel in search of knowledge and to spend in the path of Allah. And therefore when he returned from jihad in the year 181 after Hijrah, he passed away having spent everything for the sake of Allah. So he died the death of the poor with no wealth to his name. From the days when he was alive up until this very day, the Ummah has never seen the likes of Imam Abdullaah ibn al-Mubaarak Rahimahullah, and never has the Ummah been so united in their love and praise for an individual as they have for Imam Ibn al-Mubaarak Rahimahullah. He lived the deen and he died upon the deen and he will be resurrected upon the deen bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. May Allah make us from those that follow in his path and to raise our children upon that path as well. آمين يا رب العالمين وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.